talk to Mike.
I need it before.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody who is attending here in person, and also for everybody who's watching in on Facebook Live. I would like to remind you folks tuning in on Facebook Live that with the cancellation of the public health emergency that Governor Holcomb did, the requirements have changed for public comment when we get to those parts of the agenda, and we will no longer be taking comments online. If you'd like to make a comment during the public comment period, we encourage you to show up and do that live. When we get to that public comment, we'll only be looking at the people in the room for that. Future board meetings, May 10th and 24th here at 6 p.m. and June 14th here at 6 p.m. We have no revisions to the agenda, so we'll move right into public recognition. We have a recommendation to approve a $70 donation from Jody and Eric Rozier of Rusty's Chicken for Northfield High School robotics. We also have a recommendation to approve a $402.50 donation from Jody and Eric Rozier of Rusty's Chicken for Sharp Creek Elementary. We have a recommendation to approve a $500 donation from Edward Jones from Northfield Robotics. And finally, we have a recommendation to approve a $250 donation from Cortiva for Northfield FFA.
I move to accept all the donations.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the donations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, school recognition, Mr. Kefeber.
All right, I want to move back or go back just briefly though. All of the donations, of course, just a reminder of everybody, the reason why is because of the robotics teams that will be going to Dallas, Texas in May. The 4 teams from Sharp Creek and then the 1 team from Northfield. And I will tell you that there'll be a long list of donations next time, May 10th. So that's great to hear, but I just want to make sure I reminded everybody why some of those donations have been approved. I guess not all of them, because one was for FFA, but still trying to plan that trip for the kids to be able to go. For the school recognition, and I also say Mrs. Moore will be here, but she's running a little late because she's at a robotics meeting right now, and she texted me, and I know she has some things on here, but I'll go ahead and share those also. But I will start out the ones that I have. First of all, I just want to share that the IHSAA every year sends out the 2021, in this case, the 2021 annual report, raising the bar, and it's really, really neat because I always look to see if there's any pictures or anything that has anything to do with us. And they actually have a picture of the Northfield girls softball team on here. And it says Northfield beat the 4 highest ranked teams en route to their first 1A softball state championship. And so just to show you that, it's just pretty cool that we made the annual report. So, and not every state championship team meets it, but Northfield did. So congratulations again to them. And also, of course, listed, everyone would be a part of this though. For softball 1A, Addison Baker was the Mental Attitude Award for spring sports for that for softball. So from the Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. So thought I just want to point that out. That's really cool. We get these each year, and they made it. And I know another superintendent, a local superintendent, also mentioned it to me after I had already looked at it. But other people see it and also make note of that. So congratulations to them. Also, I want to read an email that was given to me. A lot of times there's questions about different things, but sometimes there are very, very good positive things. And this deals with Jay Snyder and Andrew McDaniel. And it comes to us from the Community Foundation of Wabash County from Joanne Case, who does a lot with the 529 plans for our students. It says, you already know this, but I wanted to, well, it says, hi, Mike. You already know this, but I want to tell you what a pleasure it is to work with Jay Snyder and Andrew McDaniel. Over the past couple of weeks, they have arranged several opportunities for consented students to complete the University of Michigan survey. Instead of turning everything over to me, a stranger to most of the students, they took attendance and tracked down missing students, and they also arranged makeup times. They treated the initiative like their own project, and the students fell right in line. My job was easy, and I greatly appreciate their thoroughness and energy. Behind the scenes, we had a couple of tech problems, but they were definitely University of Michigan problems, not MSD, so thanks to Aaron Hayden also. We appreciate working with you and your team for the benefit of our students. Have a wonderful day, Joanne Case, Program Officer. So it's always good to get those emails. I probably could share more of those, but I thought I'd share those for Aaron and for Jay and for Andrew, because they do a lot of work to help that work out. Jay Snyder would like to share that Northfield received notification from the Indiana Department of Education on Wednesday, April 20th, that Northfield was successfully renewed their designation as a family-friendly school for the 2022-2023 school year. The family-friendly schools designation focuses on addressing the academic, physical, emotional, and social needs of students while providing the needed resources and fostering the active involvement of their families through schools and the community. A thank you to Mr. Ellsworth for working on this renewal for Northfield Junior High School. And also just a reminder that Sharp Creek also received that designation this year, and for the first time, that was a renewal, and for the first time, Metro North Elementary. This is something that you have to apply to the state, but also the list of various tasks that you have to complete to be able to be recognized as this designation. So we appreciate them doing that. The choir sang, this is also, acapella choir sang at the ISMA choir organizational contest at Norwell High School last Saturday and received a gold rating in their division. A select number of eighth graders was also joined the group for the performance. This is the first time the acapella choir received the ISMA rating since 2003. And we are excited to be able to bring this to Northfield once again. So congratulations to Mr. Johnston and all 14 singers. We are very proud of your hard work. And this is from Mrs. Moore, so she's not here yet, so I'll go ahead and read it for her. So while sitting at the track meet on Friday, a staff member from Charlotte Creek Gardens shared how amazing our Little Norse preschoolers were during their field trip to the gardens last week. In spite of the rain and cold, our preschoolers were excited and engaged and incredibly well behaved. There was not a single complaint or whine about the cold and rain. Was that adults too?
No, we had the snow. Get rain.
Okay, that must be the answer right there. It was also shared how engaged our teachers were with our students during short wait times. The preschool teachers practiced rhyming, counting, and sorting skills. I only did one of them, so you got two more. So if you want to pull those down.
You're on.
No, I told them why you were at the robotics, and we talked about all the donations there. And I just finished the first one talking about Charlie Creek Gardens and how they talked about our Little Norse preschoolers. And so I did ask the question though, if there was any whining going on from the adults. You said students, so they already.
No, there was no.
Oh, you better not answer that because I heard some other
We already
Don't answer that.
Imagine a week ago,
Yeah.
and they were at the garden.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've not done about Little Norse enrollment for next year?
No, the second two are yours.
Okay, so I just wanted to provide you with an update on our Little Norse registration. We have currently a wait list for our Little Norse 3s, our Little Norse 3s, our Little Knights 3s, our Little Knights 4s, our Little Knights 4s, and we're this far away from having our Little Norse 4s, those 3 classrooms at capacity as well. So, and we'll just continue to get more and more kids, which is exciting. We've always still had a few openings as we've headed into summer that we've been filled. So, super exciting. Next Tuesday is our Little Knights open house. And during that time, they'll get to visit classrooms, meet 2 of our Little Knights teachers, but then also sign up and apply for On My Way Pre-K, which if families that qualify will find them 100% and then some. And then Thursday night is our Little Norse. Get my Norse. It's our turn for our open house. And then the other thing that I had is our elementary summer programming. Registration for that is underway. And as of 4:30, we had 128 elementary students signed up for a variety of programming. 48 for half day, which is academic support, 35 for full day, which is academic in the morning, and then the afternoon is enrichment with the YMCA. 23 for Minds in Action Level 1, which is just staying in our community and surrounding area. And then Minds in Action 2, we have 22 of those enrolled. And for that, we'll go camping in southern Indiana, and then the next week go to the Indiana Dream State Park. So exciting. So if you need a spot, sign up now. And it is tent camping. My favorite.
This
That is
morning,
not the only one. That's why we do it.
It is not my preferred.
Mrs. Moore.
So,
Yeah.
oh, I have a question.
Would you like me to
No.
put your name on the list?
Yes. The wait list for the different age groups, like how many are there like on the wait list?
At Metro North, we have 3, and Southwood, we're at break even right now.
So with the wait list, they won't be able to get in, or
Yeah,
if
if
somebody
they're on
cancels?
the wait list, someone will have to cancel or not show up, and then we'll invite them on.
Great.
So
Don't like seeing them wait, but it's a
I
good thing that you gotta,
it is a great thing.
it's too bad you can make a room for those additional kids, but there's not capacity. Okay.
All right. Well, our next event tonight is to do the spotlight. So if I could have the spotlight participants.
Oh, I have to go on?
Yes, yes,
I thought I was gonna get to. We all sit talking here. I thought.
There's a spot for them up there. You get to be right front.
So, Mrs. Meredith was, and I don't, I'll wait, don't, not with me.
And how while we're talking. And then we're like,
Yeah. So Mrs. Amos actually nominated Mrs. Meredith. And so it's great to have this team, the comrades together. And so I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to Mrs. Amos to share a little bit about what you said about Mrs. Meredith.
Stacy is a compassionate, grade level leader. She serves littles with every ounce of love and grace possible. Stacy treats the students as her own. Working with her is a joy. She always has a positive attitude and a laugh. I love her leadership style, as she's willing to share or help daily. She checks in on us. She gives us staff little gifts and always a hug when we need it. Stacy's such a light at MSD, and we are blessed to have her as a coworker. Friend.
Mrs. Moore has
Okay. So, I would just like to say, Mrs. Meredith, if you have not had a chance to see her in action, you need to come spend a moment in her classroom. You'll just be in awe. She was meant to be a preschool teacher. And I can say that as an administrator and as a parent. She had the pleasure of having a principal's kid one year. I know from experience isn't always the easiest. But I knew then the dynamic educator she was. And then just to see her in this preschool role is where she is absolutely meant to be. She is kind and warm and loving, balanced with firm and fair, which isn't easy to do. Because your 4-year-old seems to go, I still love you, even though, you did da 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 da. So it's a difficult balance. Add to that, she's incredibly knowledgeable about what is developmentally appropriate for 4s. And I learn a lot from her in those regards, because even with an elementary license, you don't know what the little ones are learning to do. Most importantly, she's a champion, not just for her students, but for other kids in our building. She partners with Mrs. Donaldson's class where they read to each other, second graders, which is just exciting. And when we are having student meetings, it's always like, well, send it down, they can read to my little ones, which is just exciting that not only are her kiddos able to take risks, any student in our building is welcome in her room to be a risk taker as well. because she herself is a super. When we first started talking about Little North, I don't even think preschool had come out of my mouth in our meeting. She's like, sign me up. I want to, that's me. I'll do it. I want to teach, because she knew that was her heart and soul. So thank you for all you do for not just our students, but all of our kids.
Well, let's do this first, though. So we'd like to.
Sit down. I'm fine.
Well, I'll go for you, so, well, I should say something. Well, anyway, this from us, yeah, but read the card, read the card. I know you're preschool, but I know you can still do this, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Might need it
read the
tonight.
card, hold that, so it doesn't fall.
Oh,
I read it out loud?
Yes,
Okay, it says, congratulations, because you have dreamed big and worked hard, we figured you might like a soft place to rest. Thank you for doing what you do so well.
But not from 1 to 2.
when you go to Charlie Greek, when you go to Charlie Greek Gardens, you can actually take that too,
Yes,
so
I
you can rain
did,
on
yes,
it,
little
so,
nap,
so.
nap, yes.
All right.
I know when I lay down with Mrs. Paisley at nap time and hold her hand, I might be using this. Hope I don't fall asleep. Yeah.
All right, do the picture and then we'll.
Now, can I do I have permission to do the picture now? All right, yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, congratulations.
Okay, we'll move on. The next item is public comment for agenda items only, if anybody has anything. Okay. Approval of minutes from our last meeting on April 12th, 2022.
I move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes from our last meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Financials, claims.
I'm trying to find it real quick here, Chris, but was there like a vehicle bought for some? Okay. Just one-
We had those maintenance vehicles, those vans. We've had it on our list to do for a while now, but we're just trying to squeeze everything out. A couple years ago, we got rid of one of the maintenance vans. We didn't replace it. And then we're down to our last one. It's really,
So we bought one.
so we bought one. It's actually a truck. So then for now, we'll still look to maybe have another maintenance vehicle at some point, but right now we just have Steve's vehicle and then this
And
one.
he's had his for quite a while now
Yes,
too.
yeah. Yeah, those vehicles were,
Pretty rough.
yes.
I saw a thing on there about the bathrooms at Metro North.
Yep.
That particular project of payment that we made.
Yeah, so,
How's that coming?
it's going along well. We have our next meeting next week. We meet twice, or every 2 weeks. And they are finishing up the first phase, which were the 2 restrooms. And so once those can be opened up, we'll move on to the second phase, which is the other 2 sets of restrooms.
Okay,
So everything's looking good.
all right.
I move we approve claims then, no questions.
Second.
Motion and second to approve claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Payroll.
Nothing new or out of the ordinary for payroll.
Second.
Motion and second to approve payroll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
Financial summary.
A couple things. One, before I forget, is we are starting our audit. It's been a couple years since our last audit, so they will be auditing the 2019, 2020 and 2021 fiscal years. State Board of Accounts will not be performing this audit because they are so far behind that they are partnering with another auditing firm. I don't know how many schools they've ever done before, so this will be an interesting audit, one. And then two, it's all virtual. So we're gathering a lot of information and having to submit that. So that's a new experience for a lot of us in that standpoint as well. But Mike just got the audit engagement letter, and so that process will start. I don't know if they'll meet with us. In the past, they've always met with us, and we've had to have a board member represent that. Usually it's the board president, but they have not given us any of that type of information, or if that's even going to be happening at this point. So I just wanted to inform you of that. And then any questions with that, I guess?
Yeah, Mayor, I asked the fee.
It'll be
I
pretty
personally
expensive.
think it's outrageous.
Yes,
So is it the same?
Yep. I think it's put in statute, that's what the fee is.
Really?
What was it, like $700 an hour?
day.
A day for federal audits, and then it's like 200 something for state audits.
Which I thought paid travel and all that, but if it's virtual.
Yeah, I
Just-
think
just
the
have-
last time our bill was like, probably 16,000.
Wow.
I just got the wrong part.
Got a little bit too, I mean, it
I don't know how long this will take.
no, you won't, but like the last one, I mean, it probably took a while.
Usually takes a couple months.
That's what I wondered.
Somebody's got a good gig.
Well, in that many years, it's gonna be quite a
Well,
lot of money.
I would think it'd be faster this time since they don't have to travel here.
We can only hope.
Tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
It's like a lawyer, they drag it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, lawyer in the room, lawyer in the room.
Sorry about that.
You've heard tales.
All tales.
Get the right lawyer, right?
Love it.
So yeah, so that will be it'll end, like the fiscal year will be the last June 30th of 2021. So it won't include anything from this year. That will be in the next cycle of auditing. So they do it every 2 years. And then the federal, because of all the federal dollars all the schools receive, that adds an extra layer on it because there's a threshold that if schools earn so much federal dollars, then they have to have it audited yearly. So,
There's upside to it, like the ECA audit portion.
Oh, yeah.
of it and all that.
it's all good, it's just, it takes a lot of time and effort to do, so. All right, then going to the cash flow. So these are the updated cash flow expectations or estimates for 2022 up through March. Some of the things that have changed from the last time you saw this was that we did receive our reconciliation for our spring ADM count. So that would be reflected in the basic state grant there for April, May, and June. We don't have the amounts passed or for July on yet. Those have not been pushed out yet based off of our estimated ADM counts. But I just carried what was from the beginning of the year on to the end of the rest of the year, except updated what those reconciliations would be for April, May, and June. I've also, since we'll be talking about classified and admin raises for later on for next school year, I've also incorporated the costs, the anticipated costs for those into the spreadsheet to reflect how that would look for both education and operation funds, because a majority of those custodian, or majority of those classified staff raises will come out of operations as well. So that is all reflected then in both of those cash flow estimates.
So we got a bump from the enrollment bill. So we're
Yes,
seeing
so
that.
the increase in enrollment you would see there for April, May, and June.
About 90%.
And that would just be based off the increase of ADM from the fall to this spring,
Okay.
when we had our February.
Putting the difference.
Yes. And if our ADM would have went down, then
Been
Well,
less.
subtracted.
yes, we would have received less
Yep.
for those months.
I was gonna ask this later when we talk about raises, but the raises would kick in on these cash flows in the June, July first period.
Some of them would, depending on the position, but some, about half and half, some would not start until August 1st,
Okay.
which would be the first pay of the new school year.
Which if you look at the estimates for the end of the year, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, there's good growth in the operations fund even with those, but I guess we're only looking at half a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a pretty good estimate.
Right, and so the only thing that would not include at this point would be whatever we would negotiate for bargaining for the next teacher, the second year of the teacher contract, I should say. That's all I had for cash flow.
All right, thank you. Moving on to personnel, we have just a short list tonight. These are all under resignations, and these are all effective at the end of the current school year. Connor Hobbs, teacher at Southwood Elementary. Delane Mall, SLPA for WMAP. And Mary Lowry, cook at Northville High School. And that's it for HR.
Move that we approve HR, Todd.
Motion and second to approve HR, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Heartland Career Center reports.
We had a meeting last week and we were kind of updated on a letter to be sent with the EDA. And we tabled that, and then we'll have another meeting tomorrow to go over that. To hopefully make sure everything's in line with what they expect us to be. And so it's kind of I got a letter here that you guys can take a look at and see how that is done so that we can be in compliance with EDA. And other than that, we just business as normal, but on May 23rd, they'll have 240 seniors graduating out of there. That's amazing.
Wow.
And next year they're asked, 670 students are asking to be in Heartland. And there's just not room. So, and we were talking about the building trades. They're wanting to add another class of some sort because there's just so much demand at this point. A few years ago, there wasn't, so we eliminated one teacher and moved things around. Now it's coming back around. So that's a good thing. So.
Any other programs, Matt, real strong, or?
The CNA classes,
Yeah,
they're
okay,
very
figured
strong. Yeah. Those are and machining and
Cosmetology.
cosmetology. That's always packed.
Welding's always pretty popular.
Yes. You know, 3 or 4 major ones like that. I don't know how the auto body is, but diesel and stuff like that's pretty good. So then the ag one is.
I was just going to ask,
doing well.
the anticipated numbers for precision ag more than.
They didn't give me a
You don't
head
have
up on that,
count, okay.
but they are going to hire her full time without the grant at this point.
Oh, okay. So,
Because she was hired on using a grant for 2 years that way.
mhm.
And then they graduated some in the CDO classes, and that's huge right now.
Yeah.
If they were just a little older, they'd go to Walmart for $100,000 a year.
I read that, gotcha.
I think I'll quit.
Yeah.
But that's it, and I'll let you know next time about this letter.
Getting a CDO. All righty then, superintendent's report, Mr. Keith Avery.
Yeah, what I'm going to talk about tonight is very preliminary, but just want to let you know that we are going to talk about it. So House Enrolled Act 1310 was the virtual learning instructional day act that was passed by legislators. And There's been a lot of talk about it because it talks about the 3 days that you're allowed to do asynchronous learning, not synchronous learning. And so originally it was April 8th that they were going to come out with the guidance from the state. That was pushed back to last Friday, and now they finally released the information today, although there's still a lot of questions with it. But one thing I want to let you know is that since we have in our calendar next year for the 2022-2023 calendar, 3 days, we'll be okay with that part of it, but we also use e-learning days for weather-related cancellations. And so we will have to look at that. And they talk about you know, the waivers that can happen, but we don't know necessarily if that is weather related. I think it would be, but they use different terminologies that we'll have to find out what that really means, and talks about extraordinary circumstances. In the meantime, the actual information also shared about the legislation that happened a couple of years ago, and that was the, I think it was 1003 flexibility, yes, the 1003 flexibility waiver request grants. Some schools have requested waivers to be able to transition from days, like the 180 days, to minutes, and so that you can use those other days for other things, like professional development. And so we have been, and I say we, a larger group of superintendents have been chatting about, you know, what we could do. And even in this, it was just released today, so it was interesting. I'd already set a meeting with our area program and our Heartland First and a group of 5 superintendents to look together, because you can go together as a group of schools or individual schools to apply for those waivers. So we're going to at least investigate the 1003 flexibility waiver request. And it actually gives us right in the information from the Indiana Department of Education another option to be able to do that instead of worrying about this virtual days. And so really very confusing. Dr. Kuhn, Mr. Drake, and myself, we looked at this real quickly tonight when we received this, but they don't answer all the questions. But we're going to go ahead and proceed and look at the waiver. The first waiver, which is a virtual, to see what that's going to be. You'll have to explain that more. And then also the 1003 flexibility waiver. So just stay tuned. Nothing, no decisions, nothing to bring to you yet, but at some point we may bring something to you to request some changes. We'll see how that works out. But everybody in the state of Indiana has been holding their breath for a long time. We thought we were going to get all the answers. We really haven't got all the answers yet, but we're still working on them. So I don't know, Josh, have you seen anything come across today?
I have not.
Okay.
Mr. Drake, curriculum.
We are starting iLearn testing, so we'll hear about that. And since I'm going to talk about textbooks, I kind of set my side time later on to talk to you guys about that. So
Okay. Sounds good. We will move on then to new business, and we have a recommendation to approve classified and administrator raises for the 2022-2023 school year.
We'll turn it over to Dr. Kuhn, but either one of us can answer questions.
Sure.
Okay.
So those first 3 items on your agenda kind of go hand in hand with each other a little bit. So specifically about the classified and admin portion. Since when I first got here, we started implementing just kind of a 2-year cycle on looking at classified and administrative salaries. We look at teachers on a yearly basis. We kind of went throughout of looking at those on a couple-year basis. It's helped with a lot of different things with budgeting and predictions a little bit. So the last time that we've looked at or approved any type of raises for those positions would have been right when COVID started in 2020. There right at the end of the school year. And so at that point in time, we took a look at a better comparison of how we match up with schools that are similar to us, with schools around our area, and with schools across the state. We found some significant gaps in some of those areas. So when we did that 2 years ago, we tried to address some of those gaps for some of those positions. It wasn't necessarily kind of the the original intent was to catch them up a little bit faster, but because when COVID hit, we took a little bit more of a cautious approach because we were not sure how funding was going to look at that point in time because there was a lot of things happening at the state level that led people to believe that we could see a reduction in funding because of COVID. But we did approve raises in those areas. So coming back around this time, we did a similar snapshot and look at those areas, and we tried to better address a lot of those gaps in those areas. And so what I bring to you then is reflective of some of those. Some of those areas are much improved. Some areas may still fall short. Nobody would receive less than a 5% increase on that. With that being said, there will be some that may get a little bit more just because of the gap that we've seen in a comparative matter. So I guess that is the kind of the recommendation then for those positions and how we would like to move them moving forward. And then we will obviously continue to monitor those gaps and areas of weakness that we see in the future.
Couple thoughts, Chris. The pay scale for the cooks, do we struggle finding people that in pay level?
So the pay scale is relatively still new. I think that was kind of started right before I started, where it used to be a pay scale level that was like went up to like 10, 15 years. And we reduced it to a 2-level pay scale. So you got your beginning pay, and then the next year you're at the top of the pay scale, essentially. And so we've really tried to address both of those areas with beginning pay. I think beginning pay is also a struggling issue with getting people in the foot in the door. But then as they see, okay, the next year I'll move to the top of the scale, then by that time, we're in another cycle of looking at increases and so forth. So comparatively, it is an area that we were behind, but we feel like we've improved a little bit to that. But that's a hard position because a lot of it is not just about the money, it's about the hours. Because most of our cooks are just 3-hour positions. And so a lot of times people are looking for more hours when it comes to a position like that.
I'm just thinking of transportation costs, time they drive and.
We've really encouraged a lot of them to, at one point, some of them were doing that, where they could also maybe drive a bus to pick up more hours and more money. Some of them have even been, aides during part of the day to pick up more hours and more money. So if those situations work out, we try to encourage them to do that, but sometimes they don't necessarily want to do that.
Sub?
They can sub, depending on what their hours are and the time the sub's needed, but.
Speaking of the bus driving thing, then, the wage increases is great. I didn't know if, as we struggle to find bus drivers, is that at the top of 1, 2 of the list of why it's hard to find bus drivers, other than the split in the day and the whole?
The split of the day is hard. The other thing that's become really hard is getting their licensure. A lot of requirements and holes they have to jump through to make that happen. I remember Kevin Lemming telling a story one time that when he started there, they just threw him the bus keys and he started driving the bus. It's not that way anymore. And there's a lot of regulations, a lot of requirements that they have to go through that they is a draw sometimes.
So on the buses, how, I mean, do we compare to school districts around?
Yeah, we do, we pay our bus drivers comparatively pretty well. I mean, you're talking, at most, they're probably working 3 hours a day.
Do they do anybody, I think I had a friend that I thought she drove a bus for, and, she said she got benefits.
Yeah. A lot of our bus drivers don't want that benefit, because then that puts them in some type of financial issue that
Okay.
does not work out for them.
So we don't offer it, or do we offer it?
They can take it. We don't provide a benefit where we contribute anything to it, if that makes sense.
They can buy it.
They can,
They could, but it's not worth the money.
What's the difference between, what is a classroom instructor? I'm lost on that one. I know what a paraprofessional is and so on.
So a classroom instructor is a position that takes on more of a teaching instructional role. Like they prepare for lessons and things like that. So like we really started the classroom instructor position at White's when we did some of when they transitioned to more of not a virtual, but an online platform. Where they're managing a classroom, so it's just them.
And manage it by themselves.
Yes,
not with
it's
the
just
teacher.
them, they're not managing it by themselves, they're managing with the teacher, or they're managing as a teacher, essentially. So they're providing the lesson plans, they're preparing the lessons that day, they're operating the classroom. When we added the 3-year-old preschool instructors, they also became grouped into that category as classroom instructor.
The 3-year-old preschool.
The
Okay,
3-year-old
like a
preschool.
4-year-old, because a 4-year-old's
The
already.
4-year-old's still a licensed
Licensed
teacher,
teacher.
yeah. So that is the difference
Okay.
between the classroom instructor and a para position.
And one other thing to mention too, especially for you guys that are a little new, so when we changed to this format, there were like 5 or 6 different pay schedules and different classifications of all these different people, and so it was streamlined to be able to like this. And the thing was too, there were not raises for many, many years for classified or administrators at the time. So, obviously financially it's beneficial that we can do a lot of this now too. So it's, and that was about 7 years ago when we changed the format of this. And really the philosophy behind that is, okay, you hire somebody and we feel comfortable with they're doing a great job. And so they're going to go to the top of the scale right away. Whereas before, just like Chris said, it could have been, some of them were 15, 18 years to get to the top of the scale. And that really would not work in this environment that we're in right now. So it just makes it a lot better situation. So it was a little tough during the transition time because some people were at the top and some people then got to the top right away. But it's been transitioned enough, I think, that it works really, really well. So.
well, I wasn't getting this for some reason. I don't know why I was not finding it. But, going back to the cooks, I just, obviously all of us have employees and, maybe have people that work for us, but I look at that, the dollar amount, and, you go to McDonald's and make $3 or $4 more an hour. So that I can see that gonna be an issue.
Yeah, it is. The hard part about the food service is that it's its own entity because of the federal dollars that we get. So everything strictly comes out of the food fund. And so we've had years where it was in the red.
Because of that.
And our concern right now is that we've been getting money from the government for these free meals, and that's gonna go away. And how that's gonna impact our food service fund. And so if we're not careful, that could really draw down pretty quickly. And then the state's not gonna reimburse us for the monies that we had been getting through this COVID period. And you're going back into the paid status for meals. And that's right now, there's no extension for free meals going into next school year. Now, there's legislation out there still that might extend it, But right now, going into it, it looks like that we would be going back to the paid, free and reduced status. And so, that free and reduced status, yes, we do get some money from the government, but it's not like what we've been getting now. And the money, some of them, like the money that we're spending now is not going nearly as far because of the expenses of food costs.
So because I've had someone ask me about this, so since we get free lunches, we can't ask for people to pay? Because
Only if it's the à la carte or.
Yes, that's the only thing we
well,
do.
I'm just asking because, I mean, I've had one person say, what if I want to pay for my
No.
kids? I don't want free lunches.
It's an all or nothing option.
They
So
can always,
Yeah.
they can donate donations. They can make a donation.
that's
it's an
why-
all or nothing option. We either had to stay with the paid, free, reduced status, or we'd had to go to the free status.
Because that, he was asking, and I thought, I don't know, so I guess.
Write a check, donation.
Well, I mean, he just said, I don't believe in free stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
So with that being said, if this all goes away and you go back to being in the red, where do you pull that income, or how do you offset that red? Where's that money? How'd you do it before?
Well, last time we had to, take money out of rainy day fund. And then we had to make adjustments at the end of the year with staffing to make it manageable.
You can do it again, then.
Am I correct? If we get too much money in there, though, they make you spend it.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's where we're,
You
and
can't
that's,
keep accruing
that's where we'll,
balance.
that's where we'll be at. That's where we'll be at, and they'll tell us we'll have to spend it down, and like I said, that can go pretty quickly.
Okay, I just wonder.
Did you want to handle each one of these one at a time, or do you want to explain?
Yeah, I can go with the second one. The second one then deals with the handbook, the salary handbook. I gave you a snapshot so that you didn't have to go through everything. You could just identify those pages. So the main changes would be just the salary amounts that we just discussed. There are some name changes. There's a few things with language changes just to try to make some things more comparative to what we currently are doing. I think the biggest changes there would be for those classified positions that receive vacation days. We wanted to do some things differently with that. We may revisit it again down the road, but at one point, to get so many vacation days, it took you 20 years to get to that point. And so, and then there were times when you get hired that it may be a year and a half before you got any time. And so we wanted to try to make it a little bit more reasonable. And so we base our years of experience based off the number of days worked. And so for the most part, it's been 120 days for our staff. It wasn't for some of those classified staff positions, so we made that back to 120 days. And then we put in a provision for those that do receive vacation time that if they worked less than 120 days for that year, they would still receive vacation time when their contract, they don't necessarily have contracts, but we'll call them contracts, that when their pay rolls over to the next year. So their pay rolls over on July 1. And so in the past, if we hired them in, let's say, March, they wouldn't get any vacation days come that July 1. They'd have to wait until the full year for that next July 1 period to receive any vacation, any time off. And so we wanted to make it more consistent with the 120 days, because that's what we do with teachers and other classified staff. So then if they worked more than 120 days, so if they got hired in February, let's say, and they worked more than 120 days to that July 1 period, then they would get the 5 days. But if they worked less than 120 days, then they would get 3 days. their years of experience is based off the 120 days. And so that's the vacation time was related based off of those experience years, I guess, or time. Does that make sense? So this is a benefit, hopefully a better benefit to maybe keeping or enticing some of those employees that they know that they're gonna get time sooner than later. Because it really, you just don't get employees that stay for 20 years anymore. And so if we can reduce some of that time when they can get those benefits a little sooner than later, that's what this is really doing. The other change would be perf changes, and the perf changes relates to the cook position. That was not ever updated when we made perf changes back before I had even started, and so the reason for these changes is to align a little bit better with what we are currently doing with our other staff. The issue that we run into now is that cooks that were receiving perf had to work 4 hours or more. Well, most of our cooks work 3 hours. We do have a few that work 4 or 5, and we would keep them on perf. But what was happening was we'd have a cook leave, so then we would hire somebody, or we would increase one of the person's time by an hour or so. So then they would have to be put on perf. They'd be put on perf for maybe 2 weeks and then be taken off perf because then they move back to the 3 hours when we replaced that position. So we were just moving people, I mean, it just became a hassle for as little of time that they would be receiving that perf. So it wouldn't change for anybody that's currently receiving perf. It would be for those new hires that come in that wouldn't be receiving the perf contributions at that point in time, which aligns to how we've been doing all of our classified staff since 2016, I believe, was when that was implemented. That's what the third component was on the resolution, the perf resolution, was just updating that list of perf eligible positions.
So what I'm gonna do then is, even though he described all of these together, I'm gonna entertain motions separately, in case there's one that you would rather not. So I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation to approve the classified and administrator raises for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the classified and administrator raises for next school year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then the recommendation to approve the changes to the MSD salary handbook.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second to approve the changes to the MSD salary handbook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Recommendations to approve the updated perf resolution.
So moved. Second. Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the updated perf resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have a recommendation to approve an overnight extended out-of-state trip for Northfield AP Physics, Chemistry, and Calculus to Cedar Point Math and Physics Day on Friday, May 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the out-of-state trip for Northfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have no unfinished business. We were gonna talk about, you said you were gonna talk about textbooks, but I didn't.
It's
It was under
your
your section.
report. It was under report,
I
not
thought
under
it was
new
under new
business.
business.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
you-
want to stop you, so we'll make sure we got that.
Okay, so we'll go back to that and
That's unfinished.
Perfect. Well, let me remind you that in the middle of March board meeting, we talked about social studies textbooks. And then we put those out for public consumption. And then at the end of March, we did math textbooks. And so we've had some people from the community look at those. The feedback has been positive. And I shared some of the concerns of the community with the teachers. And of course, the teachers will tell you that we're hiring the teachers to teach, not the books, right? And so the books are just a resource for them. And they are all very well aware that their job is to help children think through that, not just memorize that and move on. And so lots of good conversations. I would point out, Matt sent a great question about Florida and what's going on with their math textbooks. Just a background, when textbook companies tend to target bigger states for the money, right? And so Indiana is not one of those states. Texas, California, Florida, New York, they drive textbooks. And so typically you get textbooks that convey to those, and then we just kind of get something that follows along with that. But in the recent years with the whole push for technology, textbook companies have gotten much better about targeting specific states with their materials. And with the advent of different states having different standards, that makes it difficult for them to make one textbook for a size that fits all. And so I reached out to the vendors just to double check it, but the Florida Department of Education has on their website a PDF of all of the books that they, I'll just read the title. It says K-12 Mathematics Instructional Materials Not Recommended List, does not meet criteria. And so I sent you guys the link to their website, and I think I gave you the PDF too. And so when you get a chance, because I'm sure you're just dying to read it when you go home, you'll notice almost all of the titles specifically mention Florida, because they've created that textbook to reflect Florida's standards as opposed to Indiana standards. And so I went through, and none of the titles that are on the Florida list correspond to any of the titles that are on our list. And so I've reached out to the vendors just to double check to make sure that's the case. And I've heard back from a couple of them, but I feel fairly confident saying that the titles, for instance, like pre-calculus, one of the vendors has like 5 different types of pre-calculus books. And the one that made the Florida list in pre-calculus is actually an online book, which we're buying textbooks, which isn't the same. And so I think that should put our minds at ease as far as that goes. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. Essentially what the complaints were on some of the textbooks, especially the upper level math, was that they included charts and formulas that demonstrated critical race, or just some kind of things that would be red flags for us and our school community. For instance, the one that comes to mind is they give you a chart and it shows you people that were surveyed and their level of racism. Well, then they correspond that to the age of the respondents, and they turn that into a formula. So you get the impression that if you plug in somebody who's 40 and you figure out the formula, oh, well, I can see that they're going to be racist. And the same thing with political party, liberal, conservative. And so anyway, a lot of that stuff really isn't what we're trying to teach in our math classes. We're just trying to teach the other stuff. And so anyway, I just wanted to address that. I thought that was a great
I
question.
appreciate you looking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, racist 40-year-olds were once racist 20-year-olds, so it really doesn't change. If they're racist, so it doesn't mean, the textbook doesn't need to go into that.
No, and of all the things to try to explain by formula, a human being is probably not the one.
Right.
And so I with that, and we've had him out for public review for over 4 weeks, just because of spring break and the meetings and whatnot. I would ask for your approval for those books for social studies and that, and you see they're listed there. So.
All right, well, we'll do that as new business then. So I guess I would entertain a motion to adopt the math and social studies textbooks that Mr. Drake has brought us.
So moved.
Sure.
Motion and second to approve the math and social study textbooks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll jump that back down to unfinished business, which we have none. And then board policy, second reading and a vote for the uncompensated leave policy.
So I put that up on the screen again. You can see what is proposed and what was the present, and did not receive any other comments or questions about that, so I just would like to make a recommendation that you approve the new uncompensated leave policy.
So
So,
motion and second to approve the uncompensated leave policy. All in favor, say aye. All right, public comment on any items. Okay, any items from board members?
Just standard, I think, it should be mentioned maybe that as we give raises tonight to administrators, that it's responsibility as a board that we evaluate Mike's salary level, and we'll discuss that and pursue raising that in the near future.
Right, because we left them off of
Right.
this list. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned.